All right. So this is part two of oh Lordy. Part two. Part two of fantasy injury management for fantasy baseball. Right? Part two is philosophy. In the first video we went over how I got to this point, and now we will discuss all of the things that come with it and how to manage your season through it, your draft through it. And then part three, we will actually, it'll be the strategy, right? Where I actually go through a draft tree that I will come up with and design based on each year's evolving and revolving needs. All right. So, first and foremost, philosophy. All bats, right? We want all the best bats, at least as many as we can get at the start. And generally, we are going to go from shallow to deep positions. And traditionally, the shallowest positions are infield to outfield to util the one exception for bats is catcher to pitcher and catcher. Catchers just get hurt all the time too. They're obviously in the way of a lot of dangerous situations where they can easily get hurt. So I will say that if your outfield is split to left field, oh, left field, center field, right field, these can be relatively equal as infield, right? But if it's outfield, obviously that's three positions in one at least. So that's a deeper player pool. Infield split up amongst first, second, third, and short. I guess I should say that. First, second, third, shortstop. Outfield, utility, pitcher, and catcher. Right? So, if we are. Oh, no, did I grab that? So, if we are only drafting batters, right? First 10 rounds generally. That's about where the line starts to break, right? If we're only drafting batters, we're not drafting pitchers. We're not relying on them to be consistent. They're extremely volatile. We're not relying on them to stay healthy. Um, so we're going to draft batters. And some of the positives of this is there's variance reduction, right? As in, we know that the batters are going to perform more consistently more often, right? So, boom, variance reduction. We're already working with better odds as it stands. Drafting all batters and all talented batters, this makes your roster management easier throughout the season, right? It simplifies it. Which means you don't have to worry about finding batters to fill your lineup. You already have everything you need to sustain several injuries to your hitters without skipping a beat. Your team, your base of your team is solid, right? Or not quite impenetrable, but built a big wall. So that's kind of the idea, right? Because it narrows your options, which makes it easier to make choices because you see fewer things you need. You can spend more time on less items, right? I can research 5 to 10 pitchers a lot more than if I'm looking for pitchers, relief pitchers, outfielders, shortstops. That increases the player pool that you have to keep track of. So it all starts with the draft. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. During the draft, when you draft, right? Okay. So say first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, seventh round, eighth round, ninth round, 10th round. If you don't draft a pitcher, right? All bats, no pitchers. There will probably, when you normally would see people draft 3 pitchers, right? Normally you'd be like, oh, we're going to take one in the 5th, we're going to take one in the 8th, and here in the 10th. Now I got my 3 SP, right? Well, if I don't take them, that moves, that encourages the other players to draft them at a value, right? So not only are they taking on more risk, but they're also dropping a batter closer to you, right? So doing this over the course of 10 rounds, doing this over the course of 10 rounds, you actually get more value batting, right? Because you're foregoing the pitching, you're making sure you're getting the batters that you want. And they're taking the starting pitchers and dropping more batters to you. Okay. So again, I'm going to try to fill out my whole lineup with bats in the first 10 rounds. That's what I'm going for. And when I do this, I'm trying to draft, again, infield, outfield, utility, pitcher, catcher. And we talked in the last video about archetypes, right? So whatever player I draft first, and for this example, this year right now, I'm going to say I'm drafting Jose Ramirez. Joe Ray, right? I'm just going to go Joe Ray. Jose Ramirez. Third baseman. Now, Jose Ramirez archetype is 5-star player, right? 5 tool, right? We'll just give him a 5. So, what my strategy says is if I draft Jose Ramirez, third base, he's a 5-star player. I need to be able to fill that production in case he gets hurt, right? Because if I don't draft another third baseman, if I only draft Jose Ramirez and I don't draft another third baseman and he gets hurt, now I have to go to the free agency and only choose from third baseman. So another big proponent or a big support beam of this is reach. Reach for the players that you need. Right? So Joe Ram, 5-star caliber player. He's about 5th pick off the board. We're going to do 12 teams. 12 team, right? So we'll say he's picked 5. And then what's that? 12, 13, 14, 15, 19 or something. Close enough, right? Who's a player of same position, nearly similar caliber, right? Jazz, third base, and we're gonna say 4.5, because you know what? He just doesn't have a very good average. or as I should say his average is very volatile, but contributes almost nearly across the board the same way Joe Ram does. So if I lose Joe Ram, that's okay. I got Jazz. If I lose Jazz, that's okay. I got Joe Ram. Boom. There's my pocket threes. All right. So that's the kind of the basis of the strategy. And you're going to go through and you're going to take, say you take a shortstop here. You're going to take that and you're going to, and he's a, excuse me. You're going to take a shortstop here later in the draft. You want to get the light version, shortstop light of that version, right? So if they get hurt, you're getting similar production. You can replace it with similar production and keep pulling into your utility spot to pull from the largest player pool, right? If they get hurt. Otherwise, your batting is going to be amazing if none of them get hurt, right? But that's not what we're prepared for because that's not real life. So that's that. That's basically how it goes, right? So during the draft, when you're draining these positions, right? When you're draining these positions, it will put pressure on your opponents to reach for shallow positions, right? Because I've already taken two of the top three third basemen on my team. That means one other player doesn't get a top tier third baseman. So he might end up being desperate for one later, right? And you just, I mean, obviously second base is the way to go if you can work it. But we'll go through that in the next video. Yeah, so you put pressure on them to not only draft starting pitching because it's falling to them, but then you will be pressuring them to reach for shallow positions because they feel like they're missing out because you're taking as many as you can, right? As you can fit. Obviously, any player with like infield, outfield eligibility eligible that you can work into here as a light version, or I thought of it as Russian nesting dolls, right? One within, one within, one within, just a lighter and lighter version of your main source of production. So we'll look into that. All right, so that's what we do for batting, right? So you're probably wondering what we do for pitching here, right? So all bats, you're going to get try to get carbon copies all the way through if you're hitting infield to outfield. Obviously, if this is split up to left, center, and right, that can make those positions very shallow, and you can sub them in as you see fit and applies to your league, right? And infield, outfield eligible players who have that ability and that utility availability. If you can fit them in like that, that is perfect. If not, obviously they're always a good supplement to the team because you're not getting nothing, right? And they're obviously talented enough to be on your team. All right, so pitching. All right, so as we discussed earlier, you want to let it fall. Let it fall until you can't help yourself any further. Let it fall. Bats filled or extreme value. All right. Maybe a couple of people panic. Maybe some really good pitcher falls or a top tier relief pitcher or something, and you just can't help yourself. Go for it. Right? Go for it. But your goal is to let pitching fall. You want them to take them earlier than they expected to, and then make them panic that they missed out on shallow positions, and then they let a whole mess of them fall to you, right? So I have a list. I have a list. And it is a list of pitchers. And this list of pitchers are all pitchers going after PID 162, right? This is ADP data from the other day. Obviously, spring training is going to affect this a little bit. But Sandy Alcantara, Robbie Ray, Carlos Rodon, Jack Flaherty, Garrett Cole, Shane Bieber, Aaron Nola, Zach Gallen, Shane McClanahan, Joe Musgrove, Kodai Senga, Bailey Ober, Sean Manaea, Yusei Kikuchi, Seth Lugo, Justin Steele, Tyler Mahle, Lucas Giolito, Jeffrey Springs, Dustin May, and Spencer Aaron Getty at 395, right? These are all pitchers that have previously been taken in the top 10, top 5, top 30, top 50, and we're all the way down to pick 395, right? So here's basically what we're doing. Basically what we're doing is we have now filled our batting lineup, and we are going to make all dart throws. All dart throws for pitching. All dart throws. On the coming back from injury, on the veteran with a new pitch, going to a new team, drive line, whatever. These guys are all extremely talented and have been valued that way or performed that way at some point for an extended period in their career, right? We're going with the numbers that say that pitchers can't repeat their performances as consistently as batters, that they get hurt more often. If I'm going to draft pitchers and half of them are going to get hurt anyway, why would I spend money if half of them are going to get hurt? No. We're going to draft batters, right? And when it comes to pitchers, we're just going to draft as many of these as we can, right? As many comeback stories as we can, all dart throws. Rookies who, I mean, that's not even including, this isn't even including rookies and all that, right? So we're going to do all dart throws. And, you know, the goal is that pitchers follow us when we're ready to take one. And relief pitchers, honestly, when it comes to relief pitching, generally I wait on it. I try to pick up, what I generally do is I try to wait on it and I try to pick up an entire pen, right? And when I say that, I mean like if it's a saves by committee, like if it own the committee, committees 2, right? So I'll pick 2 teams whose ADP are lower, like because they don't know who's going to get the most saves, and I'll just take them both, right, and go figure it out from there. That's generally my, unless a top tier one falls to me that I really like, then I'll take it. You know, take a value. So, but that's generally my approach to relief pitching. You'll never see me pick one in the first 10 rounds ever. Another in-season management for pitching. You want to trade for pitching. Using your surplus batting. Okay. You want to see how it shakes out until about end of May, June. And you want to use your surplus of batting. The goal is to hopefully have a surplus at this point. and you hope to execute a trade for somebody desperate for the shallow positions that you have a surplus of, right? That's the leverage that we're trying to build. Uh, so a couple other little things is at this point, since your batting's filled, you made some dart throws on some pitching. Uh, you can, I mean, if your batting lineup's filled, you can take a couple dart throws on some hitters, right? You're not hurting your batting at all by taking maybe your favorite player or dart throw on your favorite team. You know, um, last couple of hitters are dart throw hitters. So, uh, yeah, that's about where it goes. Some of the things I've dealt with. Some of the negatives is obviously that pitching is super volatile, and your chance, unless you're active on the waiver wire, which you need to be, which all you have to worry about is waiver wires for pitching. That's kind of how we, lower the variables that we have to take into account. You're just looking for pitching, right? So that could always fail you, and you could definitely be missing out on breakout bats because you're not drafting many of them. You might have one or two on your team just as supplemental. So, but I have found that this is very consistent, right? Because you can just play matchups with pitching, you can play stadiums with pitching, you can play weather with pitching, you can stream pitching, like bats first, all dart throw pitchers. Just claim a committee or two. Maybe if you have two good relief pitchers, just get one committee. Try to let pitching fall after your bats are filled, unless there's an extreme value. Trade for your pitching with your surplus batting. That's about it. That's about it. So that's part two, philosophy, and part three of fantasy injury management, fantasy baseball. Part three will be strategy, and we will go through ADP and do the ideal draft. Do an ideal draft. That'll be next video. All right.